What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel here. This is Zach Mullins from The Grip Show, and going to be talking about these handles today. These are called crushers. I got a couple different diameters here. We're going to mainly be focusing on this 2.25 inch, 2.25 inch diameter steel rolling handle, which is labeled the Crusher by Fat Bastard Barbell Company. So they're the ones that make all these handles. This is an Iron Mind handle I'm going to be using for a comparison later. But yeah, this is the 2.25 inch Crusher. For grip sport right now, this is probably one of the most popular rolling handles and probably the most contested rolling handle. So just getting into it, I already mentioned, Fat Bastard Barbell Company makes these. And most of this video is going to primarily be focusing on this 2.25 inch Crusher right here. I have some other sizes for comparison type stuff, but yeah, this will be our main focus. So just a couple notes. With this handle here, within the sport of grip, it's been contested on in competition by over 1,000 athletes. So over 1,000 athletes have logged lifts on this handle in competition. Really, and most of that is due to the King Kong Grip Challenge, which is the biggest multi-venue grip competition in the world. This handle was held probably 4 or 5 years consecutively. So it's been a big success. It's an awesome handle, and there's a reason why it stayed in the lineup too. And it is one of the best rolling handles. Is it the best ever? Is it the best currently? We're going to kind of get into some of that and maybe let you guys decide. So over 1,000 people have logged lifts on this handle. Probably within the last 5 years, most contested handle in general. But why is it important? Why is it a good training tool? What separates it from other rolling handles that you could get, right? So the first thing I'm going to bring up is just the construction of it. The fact that it's pretty much all steel. The entire thing. So, when you deal with, and we'll start off with the weights just to get there. So this is an Iron Mind Rolling Thunder, which is probably the most well-known handle. And just because it's the most well-known doesn't mean it's the best to train with. But this was kind of the original rolling handle training tool for, developing thick bar and whatever else. So with this, you do have some, like steel frame and on the outside here, but then you have this real, I don't know how clear this will come through, but it's almost just a plasticky, kind of, I don't know, maybe some kind of like acrylic or something. I don't know what it is, but it's some form of plastic. It's not steel. Big issue with this is, it'll drop under its own weight, which is part of the stuff they do for Rolling Thunder, crushed to dust, Iron Mind certification. So it does have some spin to it, but when I spin the handle, it's not spinning very much. And then if I were to load that up and you actually have the weight stack underneath, it's going to kind of, bite into itself and roll even slower. And some of these handles, there's a lot of variance too. So you could put 3 different rolling handles in a gym and kind of test yourself on them. And you might get, you're going to roughly get about the same result generally, but you're not going to get like the same thing on it. The consistency is kind of all over the place. So depending on, how well someone's taking care of it, the environment they've been lifting in, does it have chalk inside of it, or just a manufacturer type deal. Some handles are going to spin more than others, and it's kind of it can kind of be hit or miss, or over time definitely can be hit or miss. But with these steel handles, you're going to get a lot better action. So I'm just going to go into the action and the weights on these, and then I'll get into more details about this. So here this is the main focus, the 2.25. But if you watch this fall under its own weight, it's completely, night and day comparison to that, right? And with that, super smooth, solid steel. Pretty much, if you're going to buy one rolling handle, this might be your choice, or one of these diameters might be your choice. But yeah, solid steel, super heavy. I know you can't feel it watching the video, but that's why I got the scale here. So if I just weighed the Rolling Thunder, right, and this isn't like training for feats of strength where I have to show zeros and weigh it, but just so you know I'm not lying, hopefully this will come across pretty clear, but the scale zeroed out. And we put the Rolling Thunder on there. And we're sitting at about 2.6 pounds. So hopefully that comes through clear. About 2.6 pounds. If I were to take the 2 1/4 crusher and we test it. Being solid steel, it's coming in right about just under 7 pounds. So we got 6.96 pounds for the crusher. And this is the 2 1/4. Obviously, different diameters, going to be a different amount of steel. But yeah, so this is almost 7 pounds on the dot. Keep in mind, when a manufacturer's making stuff like this, there can always be slight variances. And then also the scale I'm weighing it on. These scales could be off a little bit too. So this might be 7 pounds on the dot. We're talking, fractions and fractions of an ounce almost by the time we get down to analyzing that. So yeah, just under 7 pounds for that one. If I were to weigh the 2-inch crusher here, right about 5.5 pounds. So just, 5.6 or so. So obviously a little bit less there, but still, more than double the weight of the Rolling Thunder over there, or pretty close. Then I'll do the 2 1/2. Solid handle here. 8.5, so a little over 8.5 pounds for the reading on that. So just kind of weighing them, you kind of get the point. So for the difference in these 2 1/4 crushers, and Fat Bastard Barbell Company does offer some other diameters with this feature, but the original ones they did, or the original construction, I should say, you're just going to kind of have the steel running through this. And like I said, the action on these, it's not like it's any slower. I mean, these are, if I do the other handles, this stuff is just, dropping. So and they don't change when you get weight on them. I mean, these things are going to spin real smooth. But when they did the 2 1/4, and I think they have it for maybe the 2 3/4, not really contested. I don't even think it's been contested at all within competition, but you can still use it to train with if you wanted. But there's a bushing inside here. I believe that's supposed to kind of keep it, spinning more freely or more consistently for a longer period of time. It's just a better, more solid construction. And I'm not some machinist. I'm not the person that designs these, but as somebody who's lifted probably thousands of reps on this stuff, when it's like anything else, when you get a good rolling handle, or when you get something that's good in the thing that you're involved in, you just know the difference. So for this handle, the 2 1/4 with that bushing, the way the frame is designed, how fast it spins, you'd be tough to beat this handle with anything else. Just the diameter alone. Like the Rolling Thunder, it's like 2 3/8, right? So this is a little bit more narrow. And like I said, I have these other diameters here, 2, 2 1/2. But if you're really trying to train something like the inch dumbbell, which is 2 3/8, or you're trying to improve your thick bar on something else a little bit wider, maybe the 2 inch is a little bit too small. Or maybe you already have a 2-inch axle and you don't need something 2 inches in your gym for diameter. I will say the 2 1/2-inch crusher really shines when it comes to it. Rolling handles aren't the best way to train for the inch dumbbell. It's a completely different feel. But if one was to pick a rolling handle to supplement for an inch dumbbell training, the 2 1/2-inch crusher is about, I would almost say, a pound-to-pound ratio of what you can lift on inch dumbbells. It's about the most accurate. I know a lot of people will sit around and say, if you can hit 190 on the Rolling Thunder, or if you could get to 200, then that equals the inch dumbbell. So you're trying to, measure out 190 to 200 pounds-ish on this thing with the variances I already spoke about. You're trying to get to 190, 200, 205, whatever people are saying, to lift a 172-pound dumbbell. So it's not a direct correlation to what you're going to lift. And I've seen people that can lift 205 pounds on one of these, and they can't level lift an inch dumbbell to save their life. So not always the best thing to train with, for sure, and then definitely not a good indicator regardless. It's different lift, different thing. With establishing that rolling handles aren't going to be the best way to bring up, inch dumbbell strength, the 2.5 crusher is probably, in my opinion, the best handle for specifically training the inch dumbbell if you want an accurate assessment of like pound to pound. So like if you could lift 170, 175 on this, you're probably in the range of an inch dumbbell. If you could hit 175 to 180, I would say there's no reason you shouldn't be able to lift the inch dumbbell with this handle. And that's any of them because the action and, it's super consistent across the board. You don't have to guess. So I'm only bringing that up. This is really good if you're looking to do the inch dumbbell, and the Thomas inch dumbbell's been getting more and more popularity. It's been put out there, a lot more videos. People are, finding out about it and challenging themselves with that. And a lot of people that get into grip or grip sport, that's something that they get after. But if we're sticking to kind of just a all-around multi-use handle, whether it's for training, whether it's just kind of getting in between those diameters and kind of having, the best of both worlds, and just for competition purposes, the 2 1/4 crusher is probably the best handle that I have up here by far. Like I said, maybe this would serve better as an inch trainer or a supplement to your inch training. Outside of that, this handle pretty much can do the same stuff. It's just a little bit, smaller diameter. But with the construction of it, the feel of the actual, being steel, the way it seasons up, you can kind of see the patina and all the rust. It really takes chalk well. That's another thing with these plastic handles and stuff. Not only is it, not spinning as well, not giving you good rotation and not really testing your grip as much or giving you an accurate reading as to where your strength level is, depending on the handle. It's plastic, it's slick. It doesn't really take chalk. Versus this, if you were to, if you didn't know any better and you basically closed your eyes and grabbed this, you could almost say, oh yeah, that's a handle on an inch dumbbell, aside from the diameter difference. But you could pretty much just say, yeah, that's steel. that feels like the dumbbell's back there behind me. So just a real solid handle that, like I said, if you're getting into grip, it takes chalk well, it spins well. It's, whether it be competition lifts, whether you're, pulling from a deficit, real low pin, you could go high pin. You could do pull-ups with, there's a lot of different stuff. There's different ways to train it, but, most times it's going to be a competition style lift. And if I just bring up some of the stuff in competition, I believe for the 2 1/4, I think the best lift I've done in competition, probably the 2 back-to-back years here in King Kong recently, the 24 King Kong and 25 King Kong. So the last 2 years, I think I did a little over 220 or like 220.5, something like 220 the one year. And then I think this past year, I almost missed it. I had to come back and do it within the same minute, which was pretty tough. But I hit 221 or just over 221 on this handle. But I was happy with that lift. But just for comparison, to let you guys kind of know what else is out there, for my notes here, this handle in competition pulled to a 6-inch lift. And you'll see some of these videos that I'm putting up here where you're seeing the knock bar hit the crossbar, ensuring that it's everybody's pulling it to a 6-inch height, all that stuff. So under these competition settings, right now the world record for Grip Sport International, Ross Boyle has that record at 272 pounds. So pretty much right at 50 pounds heavier than what I pulled. Ross is a monster. He just broke that record this year. So yeah, phenomenal lift. It's wild to me, some of the stuff I've been able to pick up and lift, and then think that, man, there's still people out there doing 40 to 50 pounds more than me on a handle. But when you jump into the deep end of the pool, you're gonna run into that stuff. Second place or second all time on this handle in competition, Carl Meyersko, a name that everybody knows. Now I will point out that Carl did this in 2020, so 5 years ago. Carl had the prior record on this handle. In 2020, it's about 5 years old now. And then also another competitor from this year pulled 260, Alexei Tukalov. It's another veteran lifter, one of the best people to ever do grip sport or anything related to grip strength. So, Ross Boyle with the record currently, Carl Meyersko's lift of 5 years ago, right there at 264, and then Alexei Tukalov pulled 260 pounds on this thing for third all time in the database. And if anybody wants to kind of check out that Grip Sport International database, it's just gripsport.org. I'll put that up on the screen. There, you're going to see everything that Grip Sport International, contests or things that have been contested in the past. And that can be filtered by, everything from, lifter, kilos, pounds, weight classes, year, male, female, country even. So you can filter it any way you want. It's really had some great upgrades here the last year or so. So if you're interested to see what kind of things are contested, or if you have a few of these items, or you have other grip strength related items and you want to see if that handle's contested, if it's in that database, you're going to get a really good idea typically of, what are some of the best people lifting on it, and all that stuff is there. So if you get a chance, check out that information. And yeah, you can see, hey, what are people lifting on the Iron Mind Axle? What are people doing on the Napalm Nightmare? What are people lifting on Little Bighorn? The 2 2.25 Crusher. So all that information's up there. But yeah, from a rolling handle standpoint, I can't think of anything that the 2.25 Crusher isn't going to help you with or improve your game with. And if you're going to buy a handle, I would suggest getting a Crusher. If you have to pick one diameter because you don't want to break the bank, probably the 2.25 for the sake if you ever want to host or promote a competition. It's highly contested. That gives you the option to have an implement that's, already tracked, already known, and you could jump right in there and already have a, commonly used implement that it's not just going to be like a wild card, or it's not going to get tracked. It's going to get tracked. There's a ton of other data from lifters all across the entire world to see where you stack up. So that's another benefit of this handle, aside from its, physical construction and materials. As far as pricing goes, it is going to be on I would say the more expensive end, but with the bushing in it, and I don't know how they make it and everything, but with the bushing inside of it, the all steel construction, going from, over 5 pounds up to, depending on the amount of steel, 7, 8.5 pounds, it's probably not the easiest thing to machine out and make or do whatever. So, yeah, you're buying a big, chunk of steel in this rolling handle fashion. It's a little pricey. So I don't know the price on some of these others. I do know that the 2.25 comes in at probably around $200. With that being said, some of these other ones are cheaper. I think the bushing adds to that price. Also, I believe on the Fat Bastard Barbell Company site, you can Google that or just type it in. You'll be able to find it. I think they do say kind of email for current pricing, because if you are looking at getting one, it's, the price of steel changes, or the price of some of these materials changes. So that can fluctuate sometimes. So I'm saying around 200 for this particular handle. And some of these others without the bushing, or some of the other diameters they offer, it might be 110 or 120. I don't know exactly, but it's in that ballpark. So for this one, being the more popular handle with the bushing and that design, it's about $200, but maybe it's 180, maybe it's 210. I don't know. It depends on steel pricing. That's something you'll have to reach out to them about. But yeah, as it stands now, I would say, in my opinion, for what it's worth, this is probably the most versatile, well-built, probably the best rolling handle in the game. It's, some handles might have that plasticky feeling, or they might be slick and spin just as quick, but they're not steel. They don't have that feeling of actually lifting, that iron, or, that just rusty steel that takes chalk. So to me, this is the best handle to train with for grip sport. Obviously, you can adjust the diameter to your specific needs, but if you're going to go with one, in my opinion, it is tough to pass up the 2.25 Crusher. So anyone that has lifted on this or lifted on other rolling handles, anybody that has a background in training with rolling handles, doing grip sport, anything like that, push your opinion down below. Let me know if you've lifted on this, if you agree. Okay, hey, say this is the best rolling handle. Maybe give a reason why. If not, put in there some other rolling handles or other options, or something that you feel like has helped you out better if that's the case. Like I said, I don't really see many handles beating this, or anybody thinking that, but you never know. I haven't lifted on every handle in the world, so I'm always open to hear stuff from other people. So yeah, with that being said, that pretty much wraps it up. I'm talking about the bushing. I'm going to, have some close-ups of some of this other stuff in here. You're going to pretty much already have seen everything that you need to see. So you're going to see the lifts. You're going to see what it's made of, some close-ups. So yeah, if you're in the market for a rolling handle, check out the Fat Bastard Barbell Company. Look at some of these all-steel handles, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. And if you get one and train, yeah, check out that database and kind of see where your lifts are stacking up and try to jump into a competition one of these days. If somebody doesn't know how to do a competition or doesn't know where they're at, just reach out to me in the comments or something, and I can kind of steer you in the right direction from there. So yeah, a lot of information. I'm kind of, I'm covering the handle, but I'm kind of throwing some other stuff in with the, Grip Sport database and, talking about, Fat Bastard Barbell Company and some of the things they do, comparing some other handles. But yeah, this is a video about the 2 1/4 crusher where I'm pretty much stating I think it's the best handle, but I want to see what others think and I want to know what you think. So thanks for watching.